The RTX 4070 has been a polarizing launch, so whether you love it or you hate it, there's actually one option out there that's worth considering, even though I do wish it was a lot cheaper. Now, if you have to have a new GPU, and that's because you don't want to use one and you want a warranty, or you don't want last gen because you want the latest technology, and the 4070 is currently the only thing in your price range, I'm going to show you what I feel is the best choice to go with for most people. And yes, again, I do wish it was cheaper, and this is an MSRP card, so it's the $599 base price, so you're not overpaying for an already way too expensive GPU. And yes, there's gonna be some of you that will disagree. That's to be expected because you may have your own specific build needs or aesthetic requirements that you want.
This video is brought to you by SCD Key. Are you tired of overpaying for Windows? Well, SCD Key has got you covered for a Windows 10 Pro OEM key for a crazy low price. All you do is click on the link in the description below. Make your selection and click buy now. On top of that, you can get an additional 25% off using my discount code BPC25 for a limited time. The best part is you can fast and secure checkout using PayPal. Type in activation settings, click on change product key, paste in your brand new key, click next, then activate. Now you're all set. You can also get a great deal on Microsoft Office with the link in the description below using my offer code.
The version I have for you today is what I consider the best option for the money. The reason I feel that way is because this is based on universal factors that I feel will benefit most people. And it's also part of the reason why I bought this model and not certain other ones. Keep it along with the idea of it being universal. The design to me is pretty neutral, which is good because it will work with the majority of most builds. And it also doesn't look like a square block of milled plastic. Now, one thing that may be a deal breaker for some is the fact that it doesn't have RGB, but there's kind of a workaround. The two-tone paint, the silver portion at least, will reflect some RGB light off of it and kind of give you more of that cohesive feel. The overall design style, like the artistic choice behind it, I would call it like a modern mechanical, maybe even lending a little bit to that cyberpunky-ish kind of feel. The backplate on this one is pretty damn beefy, and MSI themselves states this is more for reinforcement than for cooling, and that's likely because the PCB ends here, so all of the cooler from this point over needs to be supported by something, and it is a pass-through design, so this third fan will just be exhausting heat through the backplate. As for the specs, they're pretty standard compared to the Founders Edition 4070. The only difference is this has a very mild overclock, even though this is technically not the OC variant of the Ventus 3X. Now, the only other standout feature, honestly, is the one 8-pin connector. And the reason why I say that's standout is because, according to Nvidia, that's an option. They don't have to go with an 8-pin, but from what we're seeing right now is most of the AIBs are actually going with the 8-pin versus that 12 VHP. When researching the 4070s, the first thing I honestly looked for was the card thickness. This is one of the few 2-slot cards, like truly 2 slots, not 2.5 or 2 point something. Even the dual fan models are 2.5 slots. Most of the PC cases on the market are still not optimized for this larger-than-life trend that was going on with GPUs, especially if you want to consider vertical mounting your card. So if you're trying to stick to a budget or reuse your current case, you may get screwed and have to spend extra money to either upgrade, go to a larger case, or buy other components to make it fit. This GPU actually gives you a fighting chance. Also considering this is a relatively normal length card compared to today's standards. The second item for me is cooling. I like to have solid cooling because it aids in reliability and it will also help with performance. Now, MSI does have a dual fan version of this card, which will be ideal for your small form factor like ITX builds. But for everything else, this triple fan version should keep everything pretty nice and frosty. The cooler in this has a full copper base plate. MSI actually went to the extra length and squared off the heat pipes that make contact with it to allow for maximum heat dissipation. Now, this is not surprising because for years, the Ventus line has provided great cooling for what's considered a budget line. And obviously this holds true today. And the other benefit of that is the extra cooling will allow you to maximize performance and eke out every single last drop that you can from what's already considered an overpriced GPU. Before we get too far along, if you're finding any of this helpful, please consider subscribing because I'm going to compare this to the previous generations of 70 series cards. So get subscribed to see that. One area that I think is severely overlooked when considering which brand GPU to go with is the actual supporting software from said brand. Now, MSI is notorious for their Afterburner software, which is an overclocking suite, which is honestly, it's really great. It's universal to pretty much any GPU on the market, and overall, it's pretty reliable, but they've spent years perfecting it. So I would definitely give MSI a win here, especially when you compare it to like Gigabyte, who, again, has decent software, but it's pretty bare bones and it's kind of clunky, or Asus, who has a huge suite of software, but it's resource intensive and it can be finicky even on a good day. Now, the biggest competitor in my opinion would have been EVGA with their Precision X1, which I thought was pretty damn good, but EVGA. I think most of us would agree that the RTX 4070 should not have been $599. $499 should have been the high point. Better would have been $399. But if this is the GPU you've been waiting for whatever your reason is, this is the option I suggest because you're not paying for any non-essential extras and you should have the best compatibility in, again, most scenarios. If you're trying to make the tough decision and determine if this is going to be the right upgrade for you, well, you're unfortunately going to have to get subscribed and check out my upcoming video of the RTX 3070, 2070, and 1070 versus this guy to see the generational improvements and if the money is going to be worth it to you. So please hit that like, subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one.